Wow. What? What's going on, squad? Today we're talking about the Iron Samson himself, Alexander Zas. Zas was born March 6, 1888 in a place called Vilnius. During the First World War, Zas actually served in the Russian army. He was a POW 4 times, but get this, managed to escape each time. How? Oh, we're gonna get to that. As a prisoner, he pushed and pulled his cell bars as part of strength training, which was then cited as an example of the effectiveness of isometrics. At least one of his escape, involved him breaking chains and bending bars. It was then that he went to promote the use of isometric exercise. This dude escaped a jail cell by bending iron bars. Iron! After the war, Zas joined in a circus to perform feats of strength. He actually toured internationally. In 1926, his autobiography, The Amazing Samson, as told by himself, was published. In the 30s, he was still performing as a strongman, and from the 30s until his death, he stayed in Hockley, Essex, in a bungalow along with other former circus acts. In 1962, he died. Feats of strength. He carried his injured horse in wartime. That's where the famous photo came from. He was carrying on his shoulders 2 lions as part of his circus act. He was carrying on his shoulders simultaneously a grand piano, a pianist, and a dancer, by the way. He caught a woman fired from a cannon. He suspended a piano from his teeth. He bent with his bare hands an iron bar 5 inches long and 0.625 inches square into a U shape. And he was able to pound a 5-inch spike through a 2-inch thick plank using only the palm of his bare hand. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is official. Us bodybuilders in a new age, we are not shit. At only 5'6" and weighing in at 176 pounds, Zas was a true freak of nature, guys. When I was first looking into isometrics and the famous people who utilize this type of training, Bruce Lee was first, Zas was second. Obviously, everybody heard of Bruce Lee, but I never heard of this man. So when I started researching him and seeing these feats of strength, I almost had to just chalk it up to old folk tales. But it's true, after learning everything that we have about isometrics and power production and it being the top tier, the highest and the most effective way to develop top tier strength, what would happen if you had somebody that continually trained in that style year after year after year? Continually, without fail. Freak acts of nature. Bruce Lee had them, and now if we throw some mass on, this is what happens with a little bit more muscle mass. It gets better. This is in Zas's own words when he was questioned about his isometric training, that it is with no desire to boast. No man can claim that with a clear mind. What I do claim, however, is that it is original. Also that it is easily the most successful yet. And these claims I can justify. Of course, progress in teaching in every walk of life is always being made, for we live in a most go-ahead age, one in which people seem very anxious to learn the best and easiest way of doing things. Efficiency, 100% efficiency is what the present generation is aiming at. Therefore, what must interest you? As a student mine is, at the present time, not only the newest, but the most effective method being practiced of obtaining great physical strength and muscular development. And what is of equal importance, it is the surest possible method of retaining both. He then goes on to say, many physical culturists possess large-sized muscles, yet they lack something fundamental. Some possess it in a degree more than others, but they have not specialized it in its training. Have you seen my performance on the stage? If so, you have probably noticed that my movements when performing a feat of strength are short ones. Some of my feats require no movement at all. There is a reason, and in explaining it, I give you the secret of my strength. Years ago, when I determined to become the strongest man on earth, I studied the methods of all the strong men I met. I studied their physiques and sought to learn why different feats produce different types of development. When I became satisfied that I had learned sufficient to give me scope of something new, I decided on my plan of action and I trained on new lines. The new method was one of which all athletes touch the fringe only, but I determined to thoroughly exploit it. I have been rewarded by success. What is it? Listen, I will tell you. I am tendon strong. I aimed first to develop the underlying connective tissues rather than the superficial muscles. I developed tendon strength. The tendons are the cord-like media between the bones and the muscles. A large biceps is no more criterion of strength than a swollen abdomen is of digestion. It is the pulling tendon of the bicep that counts, and so on throughout the whole body. This method was employed. Some men with thin legs are stronger than some with thick legs. Why? Because strength lies in the tendons, are the powerful fibrous attachments of the muscles to the bones. They are, in short, the master key to the strength which overcomes great resistance. Without tendons, one would possess no control over the body. There would be no rigidity, no steadiness of physical movement. They and their development are the secret of my strength. I am tendon strong. Muscles alone won't hold horses back. Tendons will and do, but they must be cultivated. Oh yes, they must be developed. There is a way of increasing their strength, and that way I claim in all modesty I have perfected. Real, sound, and efficient is my method. My knowledge can be yours as well. And now you know why I am stronger than the others. You know why I am stronger than others. You know also why some big men are not really strong. Tendon strength accounts for those thin-armed boxers who, surprisingly, possess knockout punches, and it also the explanation of other forms of physical power wherein the performer does not look capable. Some men are born with stronger tendons than others. They are fortunate, but all can develop tendon strength if only they knew the method. Will you take my advice? If so, I can further help you. I have so much to tell you, so much I can do for you in regard to this method of training, that it is an impossible task to do more than outline is it here. It is far too great an undertaking and can only be wisely imparted according to individual needs. I have my own ideas of diet, breathing, sleep, rest, and many things appertaining to one's health and strength, some of which will be explained later. Massive muscles useless without strong tendons. My method, which only includes short physical movements, economizes in an energy. It develops energy, but does not waste it, as some systems do. It is easily possible to develop the body and keep it supple and fit without energy wasting arm-raising movements. I do not believe in a big muscle unless they are backed up by great tendon strength. One sees many physical culture enthusiasts with quite large muscles, but of what use are they unless supported by that essentially powerful tendon foundation? These men cannot employ their big muscles usefully in real tests of strength, therefore they are only an illusion. Woo! Man, we haven't met. I wish I could have met him for saying that. But I do not neglect muscular development. My method will develop muscle as well as tendons, and thereby furnish quite a respective physical appearance, as my photographs show. But these are real muscles, real strength muscles, obtained by my own unique way, not by ordinary exercises. They are full of power and convey in appearance just what they can perform. I can make you stronger than you ever thought possible. By this method, the possibilities are enormous. Just a few selected short movements with special appliances. I have trained with these appliances for years, and it is due to their wonderful tendon and muscle strengthening powers that I am what I am today. These appliances are so unlike the usual physical culture appliances that if you had seen them in a shop window without explanation, you would never have understood their purpose. I travel them with me always. They are not heavy. The use of them enables me, among other things, to break steel chains and to bend stout iron bars unfaked in any way around my chest and with my fingers. By their means, I have also hardened my muscles to withstand enormous pressure without the slightest pain. My skin is like leather, as I show when I lie on those beds of nails with a big stone on my chest. I was not born that way, I developed it. Doesn't that get you hype? My skin was tingling reading that. That's straight from legendarystrength.com, link in the description. According to Alexander Zas, if you want to become incredibly strong, and I mean not just strong in the sense that we all know today in 2022, if you want to become superhumanly strong, you must concentrate on the hands and the wrist. You know what's funny about that? If I recall, I do remember Bruce Lee talking about training his grip. And he was a fanatic about it, way more than your average gym goer. And now we saw Bruce Lee's incredible feats of strength. I wonder if there's a connection there. But if we look at the anatomy of the hands, there's not really that much muscle in them. The forearms don't have much either. I mean, there's a showy brachioradialis, but other than that, it's negligible. So where does it come from? The tendons and ligament located in those same areas. Believe it or not, even the bone strength, the bone density comes into play. And what we know about isometric training is that we're exerting 100% of our effort into that movement. And we also know that higher forces will strengthen the bones. We've talked about that in a video which you can find right here. So what happens if we just continually train that way day after week after month after year, freaks of nature like Zas did? Well, we haven't seen that, and we usually don't see that type of training out here often. I know I've never trained that way, especially not that intensely with my hand strength. Farthest I've gone with is Captain's a Crush 2.5. I'd like to close a 4, but I just know I'm not there yet. But 2.5, which has allowed me to curl weights heavier than I would be able to had I not trained my forearms pretty intensely. So to me, that makes sense because of course there are just levels to things and there are so many more levels to reach, but that's what that looks like. He's able to carry a piano with someone playing it behind him. We have to utilize progressive overload. We're so used to progressive overload in the basic bodybuilding sense, which we've still applied to our isometrics as well. But here, this is straight from Zas. The secret of all improvement in feats like this is gradual progress from one stage to another, the severity of the test only being increased by degrees that are hardly noticeable. He follows up to say that the great secret of developing strength is to do so in a way which will store up energy instead of dissipating it and build up the stamina as well. And the only method I know which really does this is exercise against very strong resistance. Oh, you got that right, baby. Overcoming isometric training. Oh man, wish we could have met him. Oh, it gets better by the way. He had a background in wrestling. Now, this is me reaching. Maybe some people on the channel have thought about this, has crossed their mind, but if we have any UFC fans in the house, Khabib Nurmagomedov, I wonder if he was performing isometric exercises to be able to hold someone down for that long. That is not weightlifting strength. That is isometric training, specifically endurance. To be able to hold someone. When people got wrapped up with Khabib, they couldn't escape. To the average onlooker, of course there's technique involved. I'll never dispute that. Khabib got that technique. But to the more enlightened viewer, that's isometrics, baby. Without using any dumbbells or barbells, Zas made himself one of the strongest men in history. Some of the exercises that Zas performed are so simple. Just like we've seen on the channel and explored with the iso chain, these exercises are not really complicated save for the pistol squat. That sucker is just intense. But they're really simple exercises. Some of the exercises that produce the greatest results are not complicated maneuvers. They're simple. They just need to be repeated progressively over time. In the description below, I'm going to send a link to a website that shows all of his exercises. There's over 20 of them that I saw, and it's explained to great detail. Definitely check that out. With all of what we learned so far, it seems that Zas was more focused on really incredible feats of strength, which we've noticed is a common trend with the iso chain. But one thing that we really haven't seen from Zas, which the only way to know is if we just knew him, I bet he was fast. I bet he was abnormally fast, and not like lightning speed like Bruce Lee, because there's more mass, so it takes more energy to move more mass. Zas, mass, okay. But even though he didn't really focus on it, I'm sure when push came to shove, he could move faster than the average person his size because of what we know about the force velocity curve. When we look up the term old-time strongman and isometrics, Alexander Zas is usually at the top of that list, and there's a very good reason why. But what are your thoughts on Zas? Go ahead and comment down below. Do you already perform some of his exercises? And if you're unfamiliar with isometrics, do you understand a little bit more about what they can do for you now? Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the next one.